DJ Event Planner will change the way you manage and run your business. Streamline all of your procedures and software into one easy-to-manage system. DJ Event Planner, the ultimate online planning tool.
All right, we are back for session number 3 tonight. We have had Todd Mitchum, we had Mike Walter, and now we have, coming to us right from almost the upper part of the United States, in Michigan, Mitch Taylor. Good evening, Mitch.
Good evening, John. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on and being with us here tonight. We're going to talk about a lot of different things.
Awesome.
Because I heard that you took this class once on sales.
Sure. To me, yeah, frankly, that's part of the problem. If I can be honest, part of the problem is that people, often think, oh, I take this class once and I'm done. You need to be a student of the game. I can't begin to tell you how many times I've read Little Red Book of Selling or Customer Satisfaction is Worthless, Customer Loyalty is Priceless by Jeffrey Gitomer, or, any of the other books that are out there by Jeffrey or others on sales. And so I've been a student of sales a long time.
A long time. And
it's probably. So yeah, you can't just take it once, I think. But yes, I have trained quite in depth with Jeffrey in different trainings and things like that, and been very blessed to do what I do.
And if you guys were watching last week when I talked to Jeffrey, he did have some nice things to say about Mitch, and it wasn't anything to do with Mitch bringing donuts or cookies. So know that it was legit.
It was not about me buying his staff dinner that time.
Oh, you're slipping him that $20 bill before he went on. No, it wasn't about that. Okay, so we're going to get into talking sales in just a little bit, gang. If you have some questions, please, you can put those in the chat on YouTube. If you're watching on Facebook, thank you for watching. Click in the description and go to the Mitch Taylor Show, which will bring you out to YouTube so we can see your chat. Otherwise, I don't see it, and that's no fun. First off, let's talk about you're going to be speaking at Mobile Beat Las Vegas. That's what the month of January is all about here in DJ and TV. Well, parts of it. There's parts of it that won't be, but
sure.
we're doing a lot of that. And seminar, speaking, stage, Mobile Beat Las Vegas, fun. You're there.
Yes. I can't wait. It's going to be an amazing show. I'm very geeked about the lineup they have. Seriously, if you have never seen Jeffrey perform live, you need to be in Vegas for that. And I have the honor, and it's funny, I was chatting about this with somebody earlier. I have the honor this time of going before Jeffrey. I spoke at a conference a couple years back now after Jeffrey. And we were talking earlier about, okay, which one's worse? Before Jeffrey, speaking after Jeffrey. To me, I think speaking after Jeffrey is worse, if I could be honest, because how do you follow that? So I'm very geeked to speak before Jeffrey at Mobile Beat. And we're going to specifically break down, I've kind of taken my book, Sales for Event Pros, and between myself and an editor of mine, we've really tweaked and honed the content down. And it's almost like a 2.0 that you're going to get at Mobile Beat Las Vegas that I haven't revealed anywhere else yet, period.
Cool.
I'm excited about that. And it's going to really help you remember the steps, which is going to be great. So,
and
excited.
For those who aren't familiar with the book, talk about the first.
Yeah, so the book was written, I wrote the book in July of 2015. It was published, Sales for Event Pros. It's a definitive process of working all the way through from research phase to the close and through the entire process of how to move a client from start to finish in the sales process for event professionals. And the specific challenges that we deal with as event professionals. And it's not just a book that you read. And that's the other thing that I wanted to be sure. When I wrote my first book, to me, it was a case of, okay, I don't want to write just a book. I want to write a book and then provide also rehearsals, workshop action items, basically, that you can take and do and implement into your own business.
Yes.
It wasn't just a case of, oh, it's a book and you read it and you got the knowledge, and then there has to be some application to the knowledge. So that's why we call them rehearsals. And part of the reason I call them rehearsals is a nod to a mentor of mine, someone I look at for sales advice, George Lopez from J&M Events in Valencia, California. I've ended a few of my seminars this way. And in fact, spoiler alert, that's how Sales for Event Pros will end in Vegas too. Is George's famous quote, which I love, and it's so true. Sell when you perform and perform when you sell. So the rehearsal is you rehearsing these steps of each step, right? Before you get to the performance, which is your sales meeting. So hence why we call them rehearsals.
Very cool. Very, very cool. If you guys have got questions and such regarding sales, please put those into the chat room here. Somebody, they're asking if they're talking amongst themselves right there, Mitch, with the thumbtack. Somebody.
I've got it off to the side here too.
Yeah, so they're way off to the side. Let's kind of dig into talking a little sales. Right now, this is the time where we're getting contacts. People are getting, sending us emails, sending us messages. This past week, just in my own little world, which I don't do as many shows as most of you do nowadays, I've had 3 brides contact me, two brides, one groom, contacting me via Messenger, which if you don't know how to find the other requested messages and the hidden messages, you need to learn how to do that.
Absolutely.
Email. And again, we've got the nice DJ Event Planner request information where they can do that. I've had 3 Messenger. I think I've had 4 email and 2 requested information and amongst that. So I've had 7 since last Friday. It's a busy weekend.
Sure, absolutely.
The consistent thing I'm getting is availability, and then what can we talk about as far as pricing? They're looking for can you send me a list of your package pricing you have? Let's take it from there, Mitch. What can I do so I'm not basically saying, well, here's my $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 offer. Thanks for asking.
So I think the first thing is you need to study what you have for information currently. And so, for example, I'll use an example you just gave for DJ Event Planner or even Messenger. Mm-hmm. Fine. Either way, it doesn't matter. They're giving you some information. And the problem is we as DJs, we as people who want to serve our clients, we will respond to that last thing. Price. I just want a price. So then you shoot them back a price and you never hear from them again. Well, go back and actually look at what they gave you for information. So for example, if it's on Messenger, can you look at her Facebook profile or his Facebook profile? Can you find out, any inkling of what their personality may be like, or any inkling of, maybe they're already posting about what other DJ services they're looking at, or they already hired this photographer, or, those kind of things. You can see where they got their engagement photos done, possibly. Another clue would be for your request for information form for DJ Event Planner or whatever service you use for that. Go look and see what their email address says. If their email address looks more professional, or if it's at a business, or if it's at a certain college, that can give you some insight. If it's at a certain zip code, that can give you some insight. Or if they have a different area code with their phone number, that can give you some insight. I had one recently that had an area code in Lower Michigan, had a pretty professional email address. It was a Hotmail though, so what does that tell me? If she's a Hotmail email address, probably a little bit older, not the typical 20, 21-year-old bride. Yeah. The Hotmail email address. And then, just a case of please send me information on pricing. So we tend to gravitate to the pricing, but don't forget about all the rest of the information that they just gave you. So that's key. That's the first thing I would look at. So the next thing I would look at is just to respond, and for me, that response is almost always a case of, especially if they hit the price thing hard, pricing starting at blank and going up to blank. And for me, I try to make that a really big window. In fact, Vicki and I did a converting price to meeting webinar that is also part of our sales help course now, that, the email back was, we have prices starting at $200 and going up to $6,500, depending on what you need. The services you want and the outcome you want for your event is how I worded it. Mm-hmm. 200 being, I've done that. I did a minister service for a bride who wanted a very template, plug and play non-denominational service, no rehearsal, no nothing, just walk in, do the script, and marry them. She was 8.5 months pregnant. And okay, I did die, and then 6,500, that's the full kit and caboodle, the whole 9 yards of what we do, right? And then when I give that range, I typically will say, I'm not sure what services of ours you're looking at. When's good for us to chat on the phone and give you a better idea of pricing and see if we're a right fit for you.
Yeah.
And that was it. And then so we moved the conversation forward from there. And of course, depending on how they respond is how you move from there.
I want to get back to that. Somebody asked, and I know if I don't grab this, Sound Obsession DJ asked, have you thought about making an audiobook?
Yes, we have an audiobook for sales for event pros.
Okay.
It's in Audible right now.
Perfect. Okay, just want to make sure we covered that before I forget, because otherwise it'll be way up there. And
there's also an Audible version of Creating Connections book as well. Actually, I may be wrong on that. There is an Audible version of Creating Connections. I don't know if there is an Audible version of Sales for Event Pros. That's my own bad. I'll fix that.
You need to fix that. Because again, there's a lot of people who listen to the podcast and they in their vehicles or they're listening to an audiobook. It's surprising how that is such a huge thing. Okay, so we talked a little bit about they're communicating and we can learn from that, and the price thing and a little bit with that and the price range.
Uh-huh.
How do we handle the situation where they're looking for simple? I'm just looking for, just some basic entertainment, just some basic music. I'm looking for some simple thing. But we both know, we've been around. That's not what reality is, but they're looking for simple. How do we ask the right questions to help them to, because I believe in sometimes that they really believe that they just want it simple.
Yeah.
How do we move beyond that?
What you have to do is there's a few different responses on this. Number one, what's your business? Are you a single op and it's just you? And are you a multi-talent company and you have different tiers of talent that you can book out? Depending on how you have your business structured would be how I respond to that question.
Right.
But from that standpoint, I guess I'll approach from the single op first. You have to go the education route and you have to throw a curveball and present a situation that she may not know that she was in. For example, have you thought about how you want your father-daughter dance presented? Or have you thought about how you're going to move from this? Or you mentioned in your message that you wanted something different than other weddings you've been a part of. What are your ideas? And move them off of what they think they need, which they come to us saying, we just need music.
Yeah.
Oh, we just need someone to make announcements. Okay, so have you been to weddings and seen DJs before? Oh yeah, we've been to weddings, seen DJs, and the guy hit on the bridesmaid and, he played the wrong music and, his speakers weren't that good. Okay. So how do you think that bride and groom hired that DJ? Well, he probably called around and got prices. That's, is that what you're doing? I would definitely recommend meeting whomever you're considering handing a live mic to in front of your friends and family.
Right.
Just have that conversation. And I think that's a huge key point too. You have to continue the conversation, because anytime you boil it down to simply just a price, you're going to lose if you're not the cheapest or in their ballpark. So another thing you have to, throw out there too is, one of my favorite questions is, what do you want your guests to say about your event?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a good question. Let's make it more emotional. We talk about this in our deep dive workshop. The key is asking better, more emotional questions. What do you want your memory to be? If you could be a fly on the wall as your guests are driving home from your event, what do you want them to say? Or fast forward 20 years. Now dad's in the hospital. Do you want the memory of him to be just time for the father-daughter dance?
Mm-hmm.
Or do you want to create a moment? that will be etched in your minds forever. And just have the conversation. And maybe they do, maybe they don't. Maybe you're important to them, maybe you're not. But have the conversation to find out how important those moments are to them and how you can help. So you have to, I'm a big fan of throwing curveballs. You have to throw a curveball. You have to get them, switch that brain, that brain around to be like, what, there is something different. There is a different option here versus just music.
You gave probably one of the greatest lines in that little sequence, Mitch, and I don't even know if it's something you've used before. I've never heard you say it before.
What's that?
When you talk, what's that?
The live mic thing?
No, it was after that. No, I'm not going to make you guess it. You were talking about when they've seen other DJs and were doing some things, and you came up with a question of how do you think they chose that DJ? Or as far as what they were using for what a fabulous question to get them to think a little bit about, well, what do you think they were using as criteria for that?
Yeah. Well, and I want to make something clear on that. You're not saying that to prove them wrong.
Yeah.
Some people could look at it that way. Well, you're piss off the client. No, no, not at all. It's just a case of trying to get them to think outside the box, think differently of why they should really evaluate and understand who they are giving this to. They're hosting a reception.
Mm-hmm.
They are giving their guests a great time to help them celebrate their new life together. Giving a gift. What kind of wrapping paper do you want on that gift? Going to be a brown paper bag? Or is it going to be really well wrapped?
Mm-hmm.
Tight corners, beautiful bow, ribbons, you know, I'm getting analogies here, but you get the point, I think.
Yeah.
How are they going to gift wrap that night for their guests? How are they going to gift wrap those moments for their parents? How are they going to ensure that what they get out of this happens? And I'm a big fan of this. There are no take twos.
Yeah.
With entertainment, the reality is, you know, if I butcher your name on a microphone, I can't tell you, hey, can you go back outside so I can introduce you again? I screwed up your name. You can't do it.
Not so much.
You know, it's not like you're buying a pair of shoes. You can't take it back. You know, with the photography, you can go back and edit in Photoshop. Catering, go back and fix a plate of food. We're live. We're going without a net.
For sure.
It's got to be right, you know? So, anyway.
Day and Night mentioned, of course, people have never hired a DJ before. They just don't know a lot of the situation. I think that's, what Mitch is talking about is the idea that we can ask questions and get them to be thinking. And in some cases, without saying that your decisions are going to there's cause and effect with everything we do, make poor decisions on this side of it. We don't want to come out and say that. And that's where basically guiding them, kind of like we do with our children. We want to ask questions so they come to the conclusions and the answers themselves, because once they do, it's more meaningful to them. And they own that decision compared to, well, you shouldn't be doing that. You should be spending $1,500 on a DJ because that's what good DJs cost. Oh, well, that's what you say, then that's what we'll do. Yeah, it doesn't work that way.
No, that's a very, very, very key differentiator, John. You cannot tell them. Telling isn't selling. Asking is. An old sales adage, but it is so true.
Very true.
Telling isn't selling. Asking is.
Just checking here. We've got only a couple of minutes left. Goodness, our time has gone quickly here tonight.
Oh, wow. Good thing I prepped.
Exactly. We haven't gotten to any of that yet. I mean, if there's anything, Mitch, we should realize that we don't need to prep. We can just go on any.
It's funny.
So we've talked a little bit about the brides and such. We've talked a little bit about getting that, getting off this simple thing.
Mm-hmm.
How about the situations where the number we need is here and their number is here, but they really want us? Is there something we can do to hopefully make them come together at that point? What would you recommend?
It depends on how bad you want to work for the client. I've had that happen. And for me, it's always goes back to, is it a right fit? And if it's a right fit, then let's make it work somehow. I've done payment plans for brides. I remember vividly a wedding. And it's funny, Vic and I's podcast that launches next week, we just cut today, is all about payment plans, ironically enough. So I remember a bride specifically that I did a wedding for. Her wedding contract was $2,400, excuse me. And so, ironically enough, when she booked, it was 12 months prior to her wedding date. So we did $200 monthly payments until no interest charges, no nothing, just $200 monthly payments. Would I do that for everybody? No. But I felt like for her, it was the right decision. I'm glad I did because it earned referrals and we were able to make it work for her. So when you can break the numbers down, I guess is my point. That's a good way to do it. Another way to handle it, and this I'm pretty sure I learned this from Mark Farrell, but I'll just share here. If you have that difference, right, between what the client has for a budget and what you charge, then, hey, at the end of the night, if you don't feel I was worth that difference in money, I'll refund you the difference. And, at that point, it's something rare. Mark told me himself that he rarely ever did that, rarely ever had to do it, never really did a refund thing, but rarely ever had to make that offer. But have I done that? Yeah, I've done that. Absolutely. Because if that's what it's going to take to earn their business, and again, if I feel in my heart of hearts the right fit, I'll do that. I'll bank on myself. And that's what you're doing. You're banking on yourself.
For sure.
So no problem with that whatsoever. Something else I want to get to real quick, going back to the thread of the bride asking about price and, hammering on price. At that point, once you've given a range, she responds back, well, I just need a DJ for X hours for X this, right? At that point, at some point, you have to, in the car business, you used to call this drop your pants, which is kind of the same thing. You have to really give them what they want, but you need to really lay out specifically what it is that you do that makes you different and what they're truly getting. In the from price to meeting webinar that Vicki and I did, it was a really long email that I responded back to that bride with specifics of what we do. And I said, there's a whole lot to talk about regarding your day, and here it is. And just laid out everything, specifically broke down the planning, the production, the performance, and the talent side for her. Gave her video, YouTube links as well to look at. Then gave her client reviews. You want to be sure you're using testimonials. One thing I'm a big fan of, when you make that transition, we're going to talk about this a little more in depth at Mobile Beat for Sales for Event Pros seminar. When you make that transition, you've gone through, you worked on your approach, you've learned what they've had, what they need for their event, and you've explained your services right before you move to the solve section. For me, I want to find out, okay, I know we haven't talked about price yet, but are there any other questions that you have? People don't buy for one of four reasons: person, place, price, product. So if I can eliminate person, place, and product, if they're good with all three, now it's just price. So it's one less three less objections I have to deal with, only one left. So let's, make sure, yes, we love everything we heard. Yes, we think you're awesome. Yes, we'd love to work with you if we make the numbers work. Okay, awesome. So now we're moving into price. So, okay, you've heard what I've had to say about our company, but obviously I'm biased. And you can literally, that's pretty much how I say it. And then this is what our past brides have to say. And that's really who, I feel is the best indicator of how we're going to perform for you. And then you can show them video testimonials, your surveys, whatever you want to show them. But just a smooth transition from one to the next for the sales process. So something to think about there. And then the other thing on the price thing, share your reviews, share your goals. what are your goals for their event? For us at Tailored Weddings, we have 2 goals for any event we take on for a couple. And I explain that in that meeting, or that long email, or in a sales meeting to a client. So decide what are your goals? What do you stand for? And move forward with that.
Yeah, that's
for the company, but
the goals and such. That's an interesting take. I've had conversations about what I envisioned in my kind of goal.
Sure.
And it didn't match up. There's sometimes it's interesting.
I have that.
And it's like, wow, I left field.
I think that's a case of it's where you're at in the business. Are you a company that wants to book almost every bride? Or are you a company that wants to pick and choose your clients?
Yeah.
So that's another big thing with the goal thing. To me, our goals are pretty universal, and I don't want to spot them out here on a show, but our goals are pretty universal, where I think that most brides would want that for their day. So think about what your client really wants.
Yeah.
Or ask yourself, or better yet, not ask yourself, ask your brides.
Yeah, ask them.
Why do they hire you? Why do they hire you? So you're only asking, they're signing a contract with you and everything else. What made you choose us over other companies?
Mm-hmm.
And ask them, and then write down the answers, or record them somewhere, and then go back through and look. How many times did these certain things pop up? That's actually one of the questions on my survey. Why did you choose Tailored Weddings over any other entertainment company? That's on our survey questions. So I can go back through 10 years of data now and look and see.
And you get a nice feeling and
why they chose. So
yeah. Mitch, we got to wrap it up.
Okay.
If people want to get in touch with you, because you've got a lot of great information out there, you're doing a daily video at 7:55 in the morning.
Yeah, #live at 7:55 has been pretty cool, a journey here. Every weekday morning, I should say. Every weekday morning, 7:55 a.m. You can catch it later. Lately, Facebook Live has been giving me some screwed up things where it's only showing part of my mouth, which is weird on the replay, but whatever. We get a lot of topics. You can reach me at tailoredsales.com, Tailored Sales Facebook page, and of course, Vicki and I produce a podcast at creatingconnections.biz. You can also find that on iTunes, just like you can find the DJ and TV podcast on iTunes as well.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Mitch, I want to thank you for being on, and we will see you at Mobile Beat Las Vegas coming up here.
Thank you, John. See you at Mobile Beat. Come see us there.
We'll be back in just a couple of minutes. I think we've got the boom right there. Now that link is up in the chat, and we'll be back with the team and talking about new gear that's being released next week.
Thanks.